welcome to the Pet Show. On this show, we're going to be talking about topical issues from a woman's perspective. And on this show, I would always have my girls with me, Natasha and Mary. On today's topic, we'll talk about domestic violence in marriages. As we all know, the trending conversation now is the death of a gospel minister, Osinachi, how she allegedly died in the hands of her husband as a result of domestic violence. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey there! Are you looking to record your videos, do your voiceovers, and take your professional pictures? Look no further. With our state-of-the-art newsroom, photography, kitchen for our food content creators, and exclusive children's studio, we certainly can deliver the best studio experience. Our carefully designed studio space can bring your diverse creative content ideas to life. We aim to consistently serve value to our customers far and wide. Come, let Tharv Media give life to your dreams. Tharv Media, a slice of infotainment.
Welcome back. Girls, we already know this story. There's no point going over it. So I'm just going to ask a question that I would like to share my own view on. Do you know anyone personally that is going through domestic violence?
Absolutely.
Mary, do you?
No, not really.
I actually know someone, but she isn't married to the person. And I can't wrap my head around why. I mean, you still have an opportunity to get out before there's any commitment, and she's still staying there. Her term, she doesn't like to call it domestic violence. She just says he loses his temper when we're arguing, which makes absolutely no sense. She said if she talks, he will hit her. If she doesn't talk, he will hit her. So this brings me to this question. Why do you think women feel trapped? And let's not just talk about marriages here, because in this case, like I said, she's not married. So why do you think they feel trapped to stay in that abusive relationship?
Is she economically empowered? Does she have money? Okay, if she doesn't have, that's number one. Number two, is she confident in herself? Does she love herself enough by herself? There are a lot of issues. There are a lot of reasons a lady will stay in an abusive relationship. I think, first of all, it boils down to self-love. If I love myself enough, I understand when abuse is abuse.
Yeah.
I can't be there. I can't stay there. So obviously we know, for example, in marriages, they would say, oh, because you have a child, oh, I can't live because of my children and all of that. But unfortunately, you're going to die eventually. And the only thing we'll do is shout like the whole internet is shouting, but you're dead. And the least that we can do as a people is arrest your husband, but you're dead.
Yes.
And your kids are motherless or fatherless, so to speak. So I think there are a lot of reasons why, we would say that we would want to stay back in abusive relationships. But I think it's inexcusable, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is. And when you said, is she economically stable? She's independent on how she stays in her house, he stays in his house. She pays her rent. No, she pays her rent herself. She takes care of herself. Yes, once in a while, money will come from him, but it's not enough to stay. She's holding on to love. So now the question, Mary, I would ask you, do you think it's possible to love someone that abuses you, that hurts you, whether physically or emotionally?
I would say it's possible in a sense that I have once been there.
Okay.
These men, they can be very manipulative. You see yourself living, at the same time you're still in the relationship or marriage or whatsoever be it.
Okay.
So the thing is, it's not that easy for you to come out actually, but if you're not been there before, you feel it's that easy for you to come out of it. Until you're in their shoes, you will not still understand.
I know people like say, you're not in their shoes. But I had teachers that flogged too much, and years later, I still hate them. So I don't understand why I'll be in a relationship with someone that is hurting me physically.
Because before the whole thing started, you were once in love with this person.
Okay.
You get? So basically, the feelings is still there. It's not that easy for you to leave. Your class teacher, you don't have anything like emotions and stuff with your class teacher. So it's likable for you to dislike the person.
Okay.
Unlike the person you're in a relationship or marriage with.
Okay.
Yes.
Look, I know that people would say, you don't understand because you've never been a victim.
Yeah.
Yes.
I might not really understand it because really I haven't been there to an extent. The only brush I think I've ever experienced with stuff like that is not necessarily physical abuse. It was more like, should I say written abuse? Because it wasn't verbal.
Yeah.
What happened was there was this person that I liked and who liked me. And he kept saying, oh, I really want to date you. In fact, I want to wife you. Okay, that's nice. But from what you say, you most of the time you sound narcissistic in the way that you speak. And I do something wrong, maybe just a little bit, and you want to tell me my whole life history in a single drop. He only did that thing once or so, and I knew I was done. I don't have time for that. I can't even play like that. I love myself too much for stuff like I don't care how much I'm in love with you, I'm gone. Especially if I see that you're not willing to change. Something that I say to people is, the first time I can almost excuse it, almost, because I understand that as human beings we have anger issues.
Yeah.
Most of us, especially if you're in Nigeria, we have anger issues. There's stress and all of that. So from time to time you might just be so overwhelmed in your mind and you don't know when you just bring it out in a way that is really abusive. But when it is consistent, after the first one you do a second one. Oh, are we going to excuse it and say, okay, he's going to change? You do no. After the first time, now we're watching you with hawk eyes. The second one, we're gone, we're done.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this minister that just passed on. What do you have to say about her own case? Because everyone now is saying it has been happening like that. He controls her money. He controls when she performs. She will get paid to perform and he will stop her from going on that show. And he beats her. Her pastor is aware. Friends are aware. What do you have to say about that, Mary?
I will have to say maybe she felt like leaving. At the same time, she still sees herself there, like I said before. Because once you are in an abusive relationship or marriage, it's not that easy for you to leave. It might not be because of her kids.
Okay, but do you think in her own case it was more difficult because, she's a public figure and a gospel minister?
She feels about what people will say, the society and all. Since she's a gospel artist.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I wouldn't blame her at all.
Okay.
Because there must be something that was keeping her in the marriage.
Yeah. Natasha, you have sisters.
I do.
God forbid, but let's just assume your sister is in her shoes and she doesn't want to leave. What would you do?
I'm coming there with a bullion van.
Like,
I am
if I have to
kidnapping
drug you out of your house, I would drug you out.
dragging you out of there. We're done.
Yes.
And if the husband chooses to open his mouth, we are also dragging you along. But this time to Kiri, we are done.
Yeah, but is it possible to
There's
report a case like that when the wife is saying, no, he doesn't beat me, but you have proof that he beats her? Is it possible?
I'm not very much aware about the legal aspects concerning that because, from what I've read online, lawyers would say you really cannot, if the culprit or if the victim rather is not willing to press charges, you really can't do much. I get that. But I'm not necessarily coming from the legal aspect right now.
Yeah.
I'm coming from the fact that you're my sister, you're my friend. If you cannot hear word, I will drag you out to hear word because most of the time, these victims feel helpless.
Yes.
It's not like they don't want to leave. They know. It's not like for me. What I believe is a lot of them understand what's going on. They understand they're being abused, but how do I leave? What am I leaving to?
So, yeah.
I've been here, and then also let's not forget, for example, the case in point now, the Osinachi woman. There's all of that. What will society say? I'm a Christian woman. I'm a minister. I'm supposedly meant to have the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
We're not meant to be having this kind of dark thing happening around us.
Yeah.
So there's all of that societal pressure, church pressure, where maybe your followers are saying, oh, so you are divorced now. There was a lot of ridicule that happened with Pastor Chris, case in point, when his wife divorced him.
Yeah.
People are saying, oh, why are people still going to that church? Because he's a divorced man. But at the end of the day, we're not in their shoes, especially when it comes to DV. I don't take it lightly. I remember a friend, she was in a relationship, right? And then it happened just once, physically, but it had been verbal. prior to the physical one. I didn't know anything, because most of the time I think another thing that happens is they don't speak out.
Yeah.
So it had been happening consistently verbally, but this particular time it was physical. He dragged her on the floor, dragged her by the hair, and serious stuff. So and then she was quiet for a while, and I was wondering, why has this girl been quiet? What's going on? All of a sudden she opens up. And I'm like, you didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And she's like, she felt ashamed. And I could understand it. She felt ashamed, so she really didn't want to tell us because she knew how we would get. So the first thing I simply said, typical me, Natasha, get out of there. We're done.
Yeah.
So there were some other girls saying, oh, you don't really have to leave, because, for example, they came from the angle of, if everybody leaves the abuser, how would he ever think to wanting to change? But at the end of the day, I think
that's a very lame advice.
Think for
makes
yourself.
No sense.
Think for yourself. If
makes
you're a
no
victim,
sense.
get out of there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's leave the victim for a while. We spent a while talking about the victim, when we should actually concentrate on the perpetrators. So, just 2 questions. Do you think their upbringing has anything to do with it? And what do you think the society can do to ensure that we stop having perpetrators, people that think it's okay to beat their partner or beat their wives or whatever the case is? We'll talk about it after this break. We'll be right back.
Have you gotten your PVC? As the 2023 Nigerian general elections draw nearer, do not be an onlooker. You can better still join a party and get your PVC ready. Our leaders have started showing interest to run. So what are you waiting for? Do not say your votes do not count. Yes, it does, because if it doesn't, the politicians will be running after you to buy your votes. Let your voice be heard through participation.
This message is proudly brought to you by Thav Media Limited.
Welcome back. Before our break, I asked why we think perpetrators do this thing and what the society or as individuals we can do to curb this nasty behavior. So, Mary, please.
Okay, for the perpetrators, I would say most of them, it might be as a result of their upbringing, because all of us, we come from different homes with different home trainings.
Yeah.
I would say maybe most of these men, they must have seen how their father will be hitting their mom and the rest. I don't know.
Okay.
But I feel most of them is their upbringing from home.
Okay.
And what we can do to curb the situation, I would say we should try to help those, we should try to help the victims.
Okay.
If you are aware of anybody that is close to you that you know is a victim, just try to help the person.
Okay. Natasha, what do you think?
Okay, I think she's basically said it, but I'll just start from the solution, right? I saw on Twitter, a guy said he went somewhere in Lagos and him and his friends, they saw in a car a guy slapping his girlfriend like thrice. She was crying, so they stepped out, went upstairs, and they were kiki laughing with their crew, right? But when they went upstairs and he saw the guy, he was so livid. He said he didn't know when he walked up to the guy and said, stop being shitty to your girlfriend, stop hitting your woman, you're less of a man. The girl immediately started crying. The guy was too shocked, he couldn't say a word. The friends were too shocked, they couldn't say a word. Imagine that kind of public embarrassment. We've put it out there what you are. You get yourself together.
Yeah.
So until the public also starts saying that it's not a them thing, it's not a you thing.
Yeah.
I have to try to stand up for you in a way that I can. Even though you say whether you don't like it or not, but I'll just do my little part. So up until men stop telling their guys that are perpetrators, guy, you know, try you, and that's where you end.
Yeah.
Do more than that.
Yes.
Right? And then for the women that are also abusive to their men, they also need to be honest with themselves. Do you have a runny mouth? Are you quick-witted? Is there a way that you're speaking that is really not okay? Let's check it from both angles. Then for the upbringing part, definitely that has a part to play. If you grow up in a hostile environment, there's no how you can become except consistent practice or training.
Yes.
But most of the time it is taught from the home where you grew up from. If you see that your mother is a weak-willed woman, most of the time you as the female, you grew up being weak-willed. You can't speak up. You can't speak out. Also, what have you been taught in the home? Have you been taught to keep quiet? Whatever the man does is right, is correct. You can't speak up. Do you get? So definitely upbringing has to...
Yeah, this just boils down to the fact that a family unit is very important. Like, a lot goes on there that would eventually, affect the entire society. So talking about upbringing, when you watch your father always hitting your mom, or you watch your mom beating house help, like she's taking out her frustration. So you think to correct someone, you hit. And that's how some of them pick it up. But I also want to say, we can't always blame childhood trauma. I believe what makes you an adult, a responsible adult, is you get to a certain age and teach yourself. You unlearn things that you know and relearn. So yes, most of us have childhood traumas, but we're not all going about being beasts or demons and all that. So when, yes, you saw your father hit your mom, you saw your mom hit people, and somehow you thought it's okay, you are now an adult. Work on yourself. If you need to get help, get help. Just be a better person. We can't always blame everything on childhood trauma. As an adult, it's our responsibility to better ourselves every day. I mean, people always talk about, this year I'm going to be better. It means that you try to heal from your childhood trauma and be a better person so that you can be a better friend, a partner, or whatever your case is. And you talked about the story of how your friend, or how a guy said he shamed his friend. That makes absolutely so much sense, because I don't understand why I'll be covering up that you're beating somebody. Sure, you want to beat. Let me announce it to the entire world that you're an abuser. If that shame would help you work on yourself, then, it's a good thing. So, but I want to come back to this childhood trauma thing you talked about, right? Now, if you, as a married woman, I know you're not married, but let's say now you get married, and the first time you feel like you provoked your husband to hit you, how do you explain that to your 9-year-old son? Like, how do you tell your 9-year-old son that what daddy did is wrong, but also make him know that, you have every right to walk away if you want to walk away? How do you do that to your son?
I feel children, they learn really fast. So you can explain it in a childish way, the child will understand, you get. Because you cannot, because of him now, stay in the marriage which your husband is beating you often and all. The best thing is for you to walk away while you're still alive to your family than going back as a dead corpse.
Okay.
And if a man has hit you before, it's certain he's going to do it over and over again, because after doing it the first time, he might come like he's sorry and all. But believe me, he's going to do it over and over again. So the best thing is for you to walk away.
But people make mistakes. We've all made mistakes. It can happen once and it will never happen again. Don't you agree?
In a way, I do, Sha. It depends on the person.
Okay.
Because everybody is different.
Do you think it's possible to hit someone once and never do it again?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's possible. That's why there's a friend of mine I actually advised. I was shocked at myself, because normally I would say get out real quick. Well, she's married though, so it's like it happened once. So I figured what happened. I asked the questions: what happened? How did it start?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the circumstance around it made me say, okay, turn it down a notch. Just watch.
Yeah.
Even though I believe that nothing should push you to do that, no matter how angry you are. I've seen my dad really pissed. He would just do the walkout thing real quick. He's never done the Will Smith. So at the end of the day, it's what it is. I think that just fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it. For the abuser. Stop making excuses.
Yeah.
Stop making excuses. That, I was born angry. When I grew up, my father. Are you the only one with problems?
You can only take the grace of God for somebody to hit you once and not do it again.
Yes,
it's
true.
Only the grace of God.
We keep abusing the grace of God too much in Nigeria. It takes self-will as well. So in as much as you have prayed, oh God, please, I don't want to hit my girlfriend or my wife anymore, you better say to yourself, I will not do this again. Because it's one thing when we say, I've been praying for the grace of God. Osinachi kept praying.
There are pastors that hit their wives. Yes. Are you telling me the anointing on their head cannot stop them from hitting their wives?
I would say most of them, they are possessed. Because I'm being serious. Because definitely they'll be praying, oh God, I don't want to hit this woman again, but they still go on doing it. So I will say they are possessed. Most of them that can't just stop doing it.
Okay, so in the case that we're assuming the guy is possessed, will you now advise the lady to stay and pray and fast and work on deliverance?
To walk away, girl.
But the vow said till death do us part.
We need to start defining what that death means.
Do you know, I recently watched a video from my court wedding and I realized the person that anchored did not say for better for worse.
What did he say?
She said for better for health, I think something like that. Like she did not use the word worse. So I think by now we should just throw that worse thing away. Like there's no point. If he's abusive, whether physically, whether emotionally or verbally, just walk away.
But I think, there's something I've been also thinking about. I know that myself too, I'm a champion of being harsh at the abuser, but I also try to want to understand where they're coming from. So for example, everybody's quite different with the way that we imbibe or own childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who it's easy for them to get over it real quick with adult responsibility and all that. There are some people who have to submit themselves to therapy to come out of it. There are some people who even years of therapy hasn't been able to do the work on them. So that brings me to a very dicey part where do we draw the line between compassion for the abuser and sending him to the gallows? Because all of us keep saying, it's like you two who's been there. So all of us keep saying, oh, he should be home, and I'm a champion for that. But my angle will come from, after you've done it the first time, are you willing to take the proper processes so that you are better?
Yeah.
But if you are willing, then I can excuse you, because all of us have issues from time to time. I wouldn't want to sing the Kweku song, but but when it's consistent and you keep making excuses, then your excuses is not enough anymore.
Yeah. And you talked about, the way we all handle childhood trauma. I believe marriage is not by force. If you think you have issues, don't get married. It's as simple as that. Be on your own.
Tell that to your mom or to your dad.
Be on your own. If as a lady, you know that you cannot submit to a man, you don't want to be told what to do, you don't want someone to come back home and ask you what's for dinner, don't get married.
Most persons, they are not just ready, but the fact their friends are getting married, that's their own reason for getting married. They are not ready for marriage.
Yeah, so I think it boils down to the fact that we have to stop seeing marriage as the ultimate prize. Even as individuals, let's not just blame outsiders. Even as individuals, you hear of a friend that you've not talked about or seen in a long time, and the question you're asking is she married? Why is that the first question? Why is that? So even as individuals, we need to work on ourselves that marriage is not the ultimate thing, and nobody for any reason should endure domestic violence, not for your children. You should even live because of your children. You should live because of yourself. And especially as Christians, we are daughters of God. He loves us. He died for our sins so that we don't have to die at the hand of one demonic man. So this has brought us to the end of this conversation. The truth is that we cannot, end this thing. It's an ongoing conversation, and I hope that with this woman's death, a lot of women will have the courage to walk away, and subsequently people would, start being aware that domestic violence is real, and we should stop blaming the victims. Instead, we should punish the perpetrators. Thank you for watching this video. We'll see you next time. Bye.